It's time for another edition of Sports Insider, brought to you by Faith Regional Health Services. I'm News Channel Nebraska's Chris Whitney, and joining us today is Erin Baumert, physical therapist with Faith Regional Rehabilitation Therapies. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's talk about physical therapy. Let's start very broad. What exactly is it?
Well, physical therapy is the treatment of patients with a certain diagnosis of a disease or pain, problems with range of motion, strength, neuromuscular deficits, helping them treat those impairments. We can also work on prevention strategies for them and long-term health benefits for those patients.
Certainly. Who are those people then that, let's say if a student athlete gets hurt or something like that, what is the process to get into physical therapy? A
lot of times if it's a traumatic event, rest, ice, compression, elevation to help them through the inflammatory of the first 5 to 7 days of that problem. Talking to their trainer about what may be next, and if the symptoms are persisting, then maybe going to their doctor. If they need physical therapy, then the doctor will complete the order for that and send them our way. So
certainly. So then, in that case, who is actually administering that physical therapy?
When a patient comes in, they will be evaluated by a physical therapist in our clinic, and then the physical therapist will set up the plan of care for that patient, and that will be administered through the physical therapist and one of our an assistant in our clinic as well.
Absolutely. Where is the office? Tell us exactly where that's at.
Faith Regional Rehabilitation Therapies is on the Faith Regional East Campus on 1500 Koenigstein, and our clinic is up on the 3rd floor, just off the elevator. So
let's real briefly just go, if somebody is interested in a career of physical therapy, any kind of shadowing opportunities, things like that they can get involved?
Certainly, yeah. We have shadow students all the time. If anybody's interested in physical therapy as a healthcare career and want to learn more about that, they can contact our office and we can get them set up. They can come and shadow or observe for an hour or a whole day or whatever their schedule will allow. So.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Well, Erin Baumert with Faith Regional Health Services, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
This has been another edition of Sports Insider. I'm Chris Whitney. Thank you so much again to Faith Regional Health Services for another edition of Sports Insider.